Well, hey there, listeners. Welcome back to the Scale My Shopify Store podcast. Kat Langman here with you again on the show. And we are halfway through the month now, halfway through January. And I would suspect quite a few of you are still on holidays. And, that's pretty typical for a lot of us women if we are mums and we've got kids home on school holidays. But of course, what can happen there if that is where you're at right now is that you're going to kind of miss 1 month out of 12, so 1/12 of the year of planning and executing your marketing and your growth strategies. And, you're going to potentially hit February on the back foot and, feel like you have to rush to catch up. Even if you haven't actually documented your plans and ideas that you're going to implement this year. Hopefully you've thought about them a bit. If you haven't really had the time to do that, I really encourage you to dive back into the first 2 episodes of 2024 on this show, because that'll certainly help. If you have kind of gone through some of that already and you have some plans for this year, or at least this quarter, and some growth targets and goals that you want to achieve this year, that's really, really fantastic. So today on the show, I'm actually going to, walk you through a kind of like a next step in your really in the operational side of executing your marketing plan. Because one of the biggest frustrations that a lot of e-commerce brands, struggle with, and they tell me that they struggle with it all the time, nearly every week, is the constant need to produce creative content. Typically photography, graphic design, and copywriting, that they're typically not a core skill set for many e-commerce brand owners, or probably many business owners, full stop. But it's such a necessary task that has to be done in any kind of an online business, right? So it ultimately becomes a bit of a time-consuming chore that is frequently procrastinated over. So, but if you find yourself always on the back foot and always trying to produce some content for social media at the last minute, or even for a major promotion, whether it's content for your ads, for your emails, for your website, for your social media generally, if you're doing all of that at the last minute, then you'll know the stress that this causes, right? Unfortunately, this kind of scenario leads to content that's just kind of thrown up for the sake of having something there, rather than content that's strategically planned and intentional and really lined up with your promotional calendar, really lined up to help you achieve your marketing objectives, your growth goals, and all of that kind of stuff. And that kind of an approach, it leads to substandard results from all of your marketing and advertising, from your ad campaigns, your email campaigns, and any other marketing efforts that you might be implementing. And right now, with the way digital platforms now work, and, I'm talking about largely the social media platforms, we all need to be producing and sharing new creative content on a much more regular basis. Actually, it's not even just about the platforms and the way they work. It's actually also about consumer behavior right now, and just the way your customers are interacting with you and with other brands and other content online. So the way, the market, our customer base, and the way the algorithms work, separately and together, just requires fresh creative content in order to engage viewers and produce the best results. Meaning, in order to convert sales at the highest, most profitable rate possible, we all need to be producing more new content more frequently. And this requires, it basically requires a systematic approach, right, to content creation in order to achieve your growth goals. So in this podcast episode, I'm going to be explaining how I approach this and give you a bit of a step-by-step guide to building a content creation system in your business that is designed to help you achieve your revenue targets, preferably without as much hustle and overwhelm as you may have experienced in recent times, 2023, I'm looking at you. Now, before we jump into that, I just want to give a quick shout out to those of you who have not yet downloaded my free 2024 e-commerce marketing playbook. So this is basically like an ebook. It's a comprehensive resource that shares, lots of detail about what you need to be focusing on and why in 2024. Because ultimately, over the last year, e-commerce marketing really changed pretty dramatically again. It's been a pretty fast-paced change over the last 2 years. But certainly over the last year, we noticed more changes in consumer behavior and the way customers consume content or engage with your content. And also, changes in the way that your marketing is going to help to, drive traffic and convert sales, right? So if you want to grab that for free, it's only going to be around for a limited time. So really, once January's over, this playbook is going to come down. So if you want to get it, head to catherinelangman.com/playbook. And we will, of course, include the link to that in our show notes. But let's dive in to our creative system. And I do have a few notes for this one today, but I want to make sure I don't leave anything out here. Now, over the last, I reckon it might have been the first episode of 2024 on this show that I was talking about goal setting for the year. And so when you have your revenue targets for each month of the year and, working out what percentage growth that might represent from last year, or you might be focusing more on net growth rather than top line revenue growth. Either way, you want to have your revenue targets. So this is kind of maybe feels like an odd place to start when it comes to setting up and building a creative system. But you have to start here. So then you want to work out, from the growth targets that you've set yourself, how much of that should be coming from new customers that you're acquiring and how much should be coming from returning repeat customers. Now, the answer to that question is going to be very different for all different businesses because of a few different reasons. So if you are a very new business or still at the early stages of your business, then in order to grow, you are going to need to focus most of your marketing efforts on acquiring new customers. Or if you have the sort of product that most people only buy once, then that would also be the case in your kind of business. However, if you have the sort of business where, it naturally leads to repeat purchases and you can kind of drive that, if you are a business that has just like a one-time purchase product, you can and probably should look to introduce ways to encourage people to come back and purchase, because that is going to help your profitability. But, things like introducing new products, introducing maybe limited edition versions of your product or that sort of thing. Obviously, consumable products, whether it's, anything from coffee to supplements to skincare or that sort of thing, obviously has a built-in repeat purchase frequency. And things like fashion, clothing, all of that kind of stuff, introducing new collections and things like that. So you need to work out how much of your revenue you want to be getting from your repeat customers, and as much as possible, you want to try and achieve as much of that repeat purchasing behavior from free marketing efforts like email marketing, for example. However, ultimately you will need to be using advertising, paid advertising, in order to really drive growth on a more kind of, not that anything is 100% predictable in this world that we operate in, especially online, but a more consistent and reliable way to grow. Using advertising is helpful there. So really, then you want to work out, okay, where are my customers hanging out? What platforms are they spending time on? And, at what point in their buyer journey are they probably going to interact with my content on those platforms? And I'll give you a couple of examples. So One of our clients is the beautiful gift hamper brand Curated with Conscience, and she has a really large corporate customer base. It's not all of her customers, but she has a lot of corporate clients. And so they're probably going to be hanging out on LinkedIn as one of the platforms, right? Not entirely, but that is a platform where her customers would hang out. They're probably not spending a lot of time on TikTok, for example. Whereas other brands are, they would have a lot of their customer base watching content on TikTok, as well as, potentially Instagram and that sort of thing. A lot of the time, you'll find that those sorts of social platforms are really geared at the brand awareness and building the size of your engaged audience, and maybe getting people to your website to start considering your brand or your range, but maybe not as much converting to sales. So, oftentimes we'll find TikTok's fantastic for building those warm audiences and getting them, over to your website for the first time, but they're not necessarily going to convert to purchase at that point. Some of them will. And then other platforms are often better placed to actually get those conversions. So, Pinterest actually is working really, really well for a few of our clients to actually get those sales conversions over the line. Certainly Google is, well placed for that. So typically we find, if a brand comes to us and they're only advertising on Google and nothing else, then there's a limit to how much Google can actually spend on their ad campaigns, because there's no kind of audience building or awareness generating, brand awareness generating activity happening. So where you add that in on some other platforms, then, you're off to the races, sort of thing. So basically what you need to figure out for your media plan, what platforms do you need to be on? And this is both organic as well as paid. What platforms do you need to be on, and what kind of, we'll get to the kind of content in a little minute, but, what kind of content, what kind of stage of the buyer journey is more to the point. So, if you are going to be creating content for a platform like TikTok that maybe is more about brand awareness, then that content is going to be very different to the sort of content that you might run in, say, Facebook and Instagram ads. The meta ads are going to be a little bit more salesy, probably a lot more salesy. Okay, so what platforms do you need to be on and creating content for? And then, to tie this content creation back into achieving your revenue growth targets, you need to work out how much you need to spend, right? It is a bit of a mathematical formula. You can work out, your average order value, how many visitors you need to your website, what the conversion rate is, and then, therefore work out how many visitors you need to get to your website in order to hit some targets. And then, obviously working out what percentage of that traffic should be coming from these paid platforms. And then from there, if you do have historic data in your ad accounts, that's not going to be very difficult to work out the target acquisition cost or conversion cost. So how much you should spend on ads to get a transaction or to get a sale, right? If you've got no history in your ad accounts, then you have to just guess at first and have a goal to aim for, and then get some data together and improve from there, right? So, that way you can work out how much you need to spend, what your ad budget needs to be in order to achieve those revenue targets, or achieve the amount of traffic coming to your website that you're going to need to hit those targets. Now, the trick here, of course, is to tie in the campaign structure and the ad creative for each stage of that buyer journey, so that you're attracting the right people and sending quality traffic to your website. Because just getting any traffic to your website is not going to help. It's probably going to make things worse. So that is certainly, where the art of it comes into, I guess. Campaign structure is really, really important. So I was kind of alluding to that before, where, some platforms certainly lend themselves better to perhaps, the awareness, brand awareness, really attracting and engaging that audience, and really getting them excited about your stuff, and really building, on the demand, the consumer demand for your products. A lot of small businesses don't spend any money or enough time on that part of their their marketing and advertising, because it doesn't lead to direct sales results often, right? And so, I know that there's often a lot of fear of losing money if you don't kind of get that immediate feedback of sales conversions coming from an ad campaign. But the problem is, if you're going straight from a cold audience to a sales ad, the conversion rate on that is going to be pretty dismal compared to if you spend a little bit more time, and you don't need a lot of budget. That's the thing, like some budget, but not a lot, maybe only even 5% of your total ad budget going towards that brand awareness and generating consumer demand for your products. Really, really, really important to build that into your budget and to your campaign structure. So there will be some platforms that lend themselves to that kind of content, but also, if you're and you should be advertising on Meta, some of that budget should be, and content should be towards that. And certainly, probably a good 30% or more of your organic content on social media ought to be aimed at that stage of the buyer journey as well. And then, from there, moving towards the more kind of salesy ads, the ones that are really geared to getting people over to your website to purchase. And so, you will have some ads targeting cold audiences at that level, and then some warm audience retargeting campaigns as well. And like I said earlier, on Google, obviously that one is way more targeted, or that platform is way more targeted towards that kind of warm audience conversion stage. So people are going to Google for your stuff when they know it exists and they know they want it, right? So working out, the platforms that you want to or need to be on, how much you should be spending, the target conversion cost, how much you should spend in order to get a sale, so that you can, keep your total ad costs within a profitable range for your overall business expenses, right? And then, the campaign structure, so that you can start to figure out, okay, this is the kind of content I need here, this is the kind of content I need there, and so on and so forth. I like to actually kind of have almost like a template for those different types of content. So I'm not having to reinvent the wheel all the time. Yes, it's fresh content. There might be different videos or different images, and, maybe a slightly different graphic treatment, or, certainly, there'll be different promotions or different copy, the words might be different, that sort of thing. But, having a standard kind of selection of content, dimensions, types, whether it's video, animated GIF, still images, so just kind of have your templates there so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. You can go into your Canva account and the templates are there and half the work's already done, right? Then when it comes to really getting skilled at creating content, both organically and for ads, you do need to really think about your brand personality. You need to think about the attributes of your brand. So what is kind of like the key characteristics or character traits of your brand? If you think about your brand as maybe a movie character, it's going to have a personality. It's going to have a way of talking. It's going to have um, it could be, let me give you an example. It could be like a really funny brand. It could be really tongue-in-cheek. It could be really formal. It could just be super approachable and like real life and down to earth. I mean, there's going to be a whole different, spectrum of brand personalities that you could go for, but you need to establish what yours is. And, that's as much about what you want it to be as what how you want to fit within the competitive landscape. If you are going for something that is exactly the same as an existing brand who's a competitor of yours, then you're not going to stand out, right? You need to kind of stand on your own 2 feet. You need to establish your own kind of brand personality, your own brand look and feel, your own sort of language that you speak to your customers in, and it needs to be all of that sort of needs to be really appealing to your ideal customers as well. There's no point kind of saying, oh, I want to be this kind of a brand. I mean, say for example, you were Boeing Airlines. If you were an airline brand like Boeing and you wanted to be just really tongue-in-cheek and casual, you probably find that your customers wouldn't trust flying on those airplanes, right? So it does need to be, that mix between what you want and what you love, and what is going to really resonate with your audience. But again, establish what that is. You can go ahead and get tone of voice guidelines and brand style guide as well for the visual elements, if you want to document all of that and really have that just better down, particularly if you are ultimately going to get other people to work on your brand stuff as well. You want it all to feel like it's coming from the same family, the same brand, and not a whole disparate different sounding and looking content, right? But then also make sure you're really, really clear on what is your brand promise. What are the benefits that your customers enjoy and experience when they use and consume your products? Because you need to keep all of that front and center in the content that you create as well. There's a I think probably depends a little bit on how you identify yourself, if you're like a bit more of a logical person or a practical person versus somebody who's maybe operates a little bit more on an intuitive or emotional decision-making plane. But what I often see when people are producing marketing content is they produce content that assumes the customer already knows your brand exists and already wants it, and you're just and that unfortunately there's like probably 1 to 2% of your audience are ready to buy your stuff specifically. So if you don't kind of create content that really communicates to the people who maybe they know they want something or they need something, but they haven't really considered the different options yet, and they certainly haven't decided on yours. So they need to know. It's very easy as a business owner, I think, to think that you're saying the same thing over and over and over again, and surely people are getting sick and tired of hearing it by now. And so we stop communicating things like our brand promise and our brand benefits. What is the problem outcome or the desire outcome statement that you need to be that is targeted towards that earlier stage in the buyer journey. Those customers, they're not sick of it yet, they haven't bought from you yet, so you have to make sure that really does feature in your content. I want to give you an example. So we've been working with beautiful modern cloth nappy brand Seedling Baby, and shout out to Eva. You do such an amazing job in that area, which is, of course, a product that is dear to my heart. And she does an amazing job of educating her audience. I mean, she's been in her business, I think, 14 years or something, but she still educates her audience about, what are the problems that occur for new parents, and for the worlds that they're bringing babies into, and all of this kind of stuff. And what are the benefits of the products, what are the benefits of her brand specifically. And there's a few that she talks about, and she consistently shares this kind of content, and it's about educating her audience, also kind of entertaining. So at that early stage of the buyer journey, if you produce boring educational content, nobody's going to bother to stop scrolling and look and watch at it. So that's why I like the term edutainment, because it kind of combines both together. I guess it's like the Wiggles approach to creating content. It's educational, but it's also going to entertain your audience and really engage their attention, right? So have that kind of stuff documented and templated as much as you can, because that is going to really save you time and decision making. The easier you can make this for yourself, you want to make this the path of least resistance. I can't remember actually now in the last one of the last two episodes where if I spoke about, planning out the marketing calendar and your promotional calendar to have an idea, month on month, what you would be promoting in your business. Documenting that is definitely going to really help with your content creation as well, because you don't have to decide it in the moment. It's already, decided in advance. So that, by this point, what you've got your revenue growth targets, you've got a bit of an idea of, new customers and existing customers and the kind of content that you need to be creating, to target the awareness building and the consideration stage, and then what's going to get them over the line to purchase. What platforms you need to be creating content for, what your budgets should be for ad spend. And you should have your, the content templates set up so that you don't have to figure out, oh, do I need a reel? Do I need, a carousel? Do I need this? Do I need that? You just do all of those different types of content anytime you're doing a new set of content, right? And so, ultimately, all of this then helps you to give your customers a reason to buy. Or the idea is that you give your customers a variety of reasons to buy. I guess that's where the promotional calendar does come in, so you can have your major promotions. Definitely want to recommend everyone has 4 major promotions a year, between product launches and major promotions like, Black Friday, Christmas, that sort of thing. And then you can have, smaller offers in and around that. And by an offer, it doesn't actually always have to be a discount. If you're always every single week going out with a big discount, then you will end up training your customers to wait and expect that. But I'll give you an example of like a smaller offer that is timely and relevant for the time that it's being rolled out. So right now, or actually probably by the time this episode airs, this promotion will have just finished. But for this jewelry brand, You by Kate, right now, as I'm recording this, they're running a Word of the Year promotion. Well, it's not really a promotion, it's just a campaign. And so, this has relevance for this time of the year. A lot of people like to use a Word of the Year to kind of set their intentions for the year without locking themselves into a specific New Year's resolution. And, to have a piece of jewelry personalized, because a big part of You by Kate's business is their beautiful personalized jewelry, and to really personalize a piece of jewelry with their Word of the Year. And so, that kind of, including that kind of offer / promotion / content idea in your marketing calendar, your promotional calendar, is really helpful, because again, that's going to guide you in the content that you're creating for organic socials and paid ads. And then, when you do have you've got your offers, you've got your major and minor promotions, you're giving people a reason to buy at different times of the year, whether it is, another one of our clients right now is running a major back to school promotion, and because she has that kind of a product, and that is going absolutely nuts. Obviously, you're not going to run that kind of a campaign. You would not have that reason. Your customers don't have that reason to buy at any other time of the year, really. So finding ways to give your customers a reason to buy at different times of the year, with those sorts of, resonant, content ideas, stories, all of that kind of stuff, as well as, your major and minor promos and offers and things like that. And then from there, the creative variants. So say, for example, You by Kate with their Word of the Year, they're going to have a variety of creative variants that's essentially the same creative. It's just that, there's different formats that it's being produced in. So, there would be there'd be a series of still graphics that could be used as standalone ads, or in carousels. There would be animated GIFs. There would be videos. There would be, different like tall reel size videos or animated GIFs. There would be, you do need to have different dimensions of all of your creative to suit the different placements and sizes and that sort of thing. Also, if you are rolling that kind of stuff out on, Pinterest and TikTok, then you need to know those dimensions as well. So really, making sure that you've got the different sizes and formats, but also different creative variants. So by that, I mean, don't just make every graphic that you create look the same, but just in a different size, because you will have some customers who respond to, different look and feel. For a recent Boxing Day sale that we helped a client with, we had a variety of different headlines. We had different kind of graphic design treatments on things, so they looked different. We had, obviously there were the different, so there was some UGC video content, there was some animated, graphic design animated content, so taking still images and animating them, and a variety of different look and feel sort of content, still within their brand guidelines, obviously. But having different creative variants that are for that promotion really, really helps, because you have customers who are going to respond to different things. And ultimately, nobody can really predict what one piece of content is going to be the most popular that week or that month, So people might say to you, oh, just do UGC creatives, get a whole lot of content creators to do, videos for you demonstrating your product. If that's all you did, what tends to happen when all of your content looks the same is that your audience think they've seen it before, so they stop looking. So if you have people in your audience who maybe haven't purchased for a while, or they've been in your audience but they haven't purchased yet, and they really should, because they're really good target customers for you, you can't be blending into the news feed. You need to stand out, and to do that you have to have content that is looking different. So different creative variants really means finding different ways to make your content look different. So it's kind of the same content, but you're giving it different design treatments, and using different content types. Hopefully I've made that a little bit clear. Once you've got all of that in place, then you kind of need to have a schedule. It's a little bit like I don't want to say going to the gym or going to the dentist, but anything, if you're not in the habit of doing things in a far enough in advance, like this kind of content creation stuff, then you do just need to lock some time in your diary, in your calendar. It's like, this is the day that I do content creation, or this is the day that I produce content. So content creation could be the photography and shooting some videos, or reaching out to brand reps or content creators to produce stuff on your behalf. And then, producing your content is actually getting into Canva and producing all of the assets that you need. Put it in your calendar. Like the more that you leave this to the last minute, the harder the year is going to get. And the less likely you will be to hit your sales targets, because your content just will not perform. Being able to produce new content on a more frequent basis, higher quality content on a more frequent basis, is just going to be so essential to hitting your growth targets this year. It is just the way platforms and consumers are behaving, both from a purchasing behavior and a content consumption behavior and an algorithm perspective. Hopefully that all makes sense. I hope that also helps. I know I just hear so many times from clients and from other business owners as well, maybe they're not at the point where they can hire a graphic designer, like a professional yet. If you're not, here's a tip from me. This is what, and this is actually what we do for all of our mastery clients, our coaching clients, when they come in. We actually get our graphic designer to just create some Canva templates for them. And sometimes we don't need to if they've already got great ones, but if they don't, then we'll create that, and we'll, if they don't already have a really good looking Klaviyo email template, then we'll design that for them as well. So you're already starting from a professional looking template in Canva. Professional professionally designed to your brand, not one of the standard templates in Canva that really don't marry up with any particular brand, if you know what I mean. But if you aren't in that position yet where you can outsource to a pro, just pay a few dollars. It's not going to cost a lot to get some professionally designed, branded Canva templates for your brand, or even, email templates in Klaviyo. So just doing that bit can help lift your content to a more professional level, and without killing your cash flow, and then hopefully by having a bit more of a systematic approach to both planning your marketing content and then executing on producing it and implementing it, is going to see you get much better results this year. Now, again, I'm just going to give one final shout out for my e-commerce marketing playbook, my 2024 playbook. If you want to get a free copy of that before the end of January, just head to katherinelangman.com/playbook, or find the link on the show notes for this episode. And of course, if you are looking to kind of really up the ante, really take take your business to the next level in a bigger, better way this year, and that you need to learn more, or you need to get a little bit more sophisticated with your strategies and your planning, and really understanding what kind of marketing efforts are effective for you and implementing more of the right stuff, give us a call, book in for a free strategy session with us. So we have our agency services for those who are at the point where you can outsource, or also our coaching program, our mastery program, which is a one-on-one personalized program. So, if that's the sort of program that you're looking for, or the help that you're looking for, something that's really tailored to your business, but not at the price point of an agency, then that might suit you as well. So either way, book in for a free strategy session by heading to productpreneurmarketing.com/let's-talk. We'll include that link in the show notes as well. But that is it for today. I really hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to being with you on the show again next week. Bye for now.